Oh, McQueen. Crazy McQueen. McQueen and I got along pretty good. McQueen looked at me kind of like an older brother.
You double-cross me, I'll kill you.
Steve McQueen was the Hollywood icon, but not everyone admired him. Several actors couldn't stand him. From on-set feuds to personal rivalries, McQueen's attitude and behavior often sparked serious tension with his co-stars. So, what happened on those sets, and why did these stars hold such strong grudges against him? Today, we're uncovering the 5 actors who truly hated Steve McQueen and the real stories behind their bitter conflicts. Join us in this video because some of these rivalries will completely change the way you see the King of Cool. But before we begin, if you're a fan of Steve McQueen or love old Western movies, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We share amazing stories about Western stars and classic Hollywood icons. Steve McQueen, often called the King of Cool, was born Terrence Stephen McQueen on March 24, 1930, in Beech Grove, Indiana. But behind the tough image and Hollywood fame was a childhood marked by pain, neglect, and resilience. Steve never knew his father, Terrence William McQueen, who abandoned him and his mother right after he was born. His father moved back to California, drifting from job to job, even changing his name to avoid being found. He died in 1958 without ever acknowledging Steve. Steve's mother, Julian Crawford, also struggled to care for him. She had a drinking problem and often married abusive men. When Steve was just 3, she sent him away to live on a farm in Slater, Missouri, with his great-uncle Claude. Life on the farm gave Steve the stability and peace he desperately needed. He would later look back on this time as one of the few happy periods in his early life. At 14, Steve's mother brought him to live with her in Los Angeles after marrying a third husband. But city life pulled Steve into trouble. He joined gangs, got into street fights, and clashed badly with his stepfather, so badly that the man once threw him down a flight of stairs. After that, Julian was pressured into sending Steve to a reform school, the Junior Boys Republic in Chino Hills. Though he rebelled at first and even tried to escape, Steve slowly adjusted. The structure and discipline started to shape him. Later in life, he'd return to the school to support troubled boys like he once was. At 17, Steve joined the Marine Corps, where he again struggled with authority, but eventually earned an honorable discharge in 1950. He then moved to New York, where a friend suggested he try acting school, paid for by the GI Bill. At first, it seemed like just a way to meet girls, but Steve discovered he had real talent and passion. He studied hard, landed small theater roles, and in 1955 got his first big break on Broadway in A Hatful of Rain. 5 actors who truly hated Steve McQueen. Number 1, Paul Newman. Paul Newman and Steve McQueen, 2 of Hollywood's biggest stars, shared a relationship built on mutual respect, subtle tension, and a fierce sense of competition. Both rose to fame in the 1960s and quickly became the ultimate cool guys on screen. Their similar acting styles, rugged charm, and love for racing made comparisons inevitable, both by fans and in the industry. Their rivalry was never loud, but it ran deep. One of the most famous examples came during the casting of Butch Cassidy in The Sundance Kid. McQueen was originally set to play the Sundance Kid alongside Newman's Butch Cassidy, but things fell apart when they clashed over top billing, who would get their name first in the credits. Neither wanted to take second place. In the end, McQueen dropped out, and the role went to Robert Redford. The film became a classic, and McQueen missed out on what could have been one of his most iconic roles. Years later, in 1974, the 2 stars finally worked together in The Towering Inferno, a big-budget disaster movie, but even that came with its share of drama. Both actors wanted equal screen time and equal credit. The script was reworked several times to make sure their characters had the same number of lines. Promotions were also carefully designed. McQueen's name appeared first but lower, while Newman's was second but slightly higher, a subtle move to keep both stars satisfied. McQueen played a fire chief, while Newman was the building's architect. McQueen was reportedly upset that his character appeared later in the story, so a new scene was added at the beginning to introduce him earlier. Despite these behind-the-scenes battles, both remained professional. They respected each other's talent and knew the success of the film mattered more than ego. The movie was a hit, and their collaboration stood as a rare moment where two Hollywood giants shared the screen. Beyond acting, they had one major thing in common: a love for racing. McQueen was a skilled motorcycle and car racer, and Newman also took racing seriously, competing in professional events. On the track, they were more alike than they were different, two legends with a need for speed. Number 2, James Garner. James Garner and Steve McQueen were two of the most recognized faces in Hollywood during the 1960s and 70s. Both were known for their cool, rugged charm and their roles in action-packed films and TV shows. Garner rose to fame with the hit series Maverick, while McQueen became a star with Wanted, Dead or Alive. With such similar career paths, it was only natural that comparisons and competition followed. Though they shared the screen and often played similar roles, things weren't so smooth behind the scenes. Garner and McQueen had a relationship filled with tension and quiet rivalry. They were occasionally up for the same parts, and this only added fuel to their competitive fire. Garner didn't hide how he felt about McQueen. He once bluntly said that McQueen wasn't an actor, suggesting that McQueen relied more on looks and charisma than acting talent. Some in Hollywood agreed, seeing McQueen more as a star than a skilled performer. But Garner's criticism wasn't just about talent. It was personal, too. He believed McQueen had copied parts of his style early in his career, from his mannerisms to his cool, laid-back persona. To Garner, this wasn't a compliment, it was a lack of originality. Still, the two did appear together in the iconic war film The Great Escape. While the movie became a classic, their on-set relationship remained cold and distant. Despite sharing screen time, there was little connection off-camera. Number 3, Yul Brynner. The rivalry between Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen during the making of The Magnificent Seven is one of Hollywood's most legendary behind-the-scenes feuds. Two powerful personalities, both determined to steal the spotlight, found themselves clashing constantly on set. By the time filming began, Yul Brynner was already a major star, celebrated for his Oscar-winning role in The King and I. He was cast as the lead gunslinger, the calm and commanding leader of the group. Steve McQueen, though not yet a superstar, was quickly rising, and he wasn't about to settle for being second best. His role as Brynner's right-hand man mirrored their real-life dynamic, supportive on the surface but full of tension underneath. McQueen, known for his rebellious streak, found clever ways to pull focus in scenes where Brynner was speaking. He would toss a coin, fiddle with his hat, or even rattle shotgun shells, small, silent gestures that drew the viewer's eye to him, not Brynner. These tricks were subtle but effective, and Brynner noticed. He reportedly grew frustrated, feeling McQueen was deliberately trying to upstage him. The tension escalated. Brynner began demanding scene changes and even wore shoe lifts to appear taller in shared scenes. The power struggle wasn't just about lines or screen time, it was about presence, and both men were fighting to come out on top. Their feud didn't end when the camera stopped rolling. For years after, they took jabs at each other in interviews. Brynner in particular made no secret of his dislike for McQueen's behavior during the shoot. Yet, despite all the behind-the-scenes drama, The Magnificent Seven became a classic. Both actors delivered unforgettable performances, and ironically, their on-screen chemistry, born from real-life conflict, helped make the film legendary. Their rivalry may have been fierce, but it also pushed them to bring their very best to the screen. Number 4, Robert Vaughn. When Robert Vaughn signed on to The Magnificent Seven, he expected to work with a talented cast in what would become one of the most iconic westerns of all time. But what he didn't expect was the storm of ego and insecurity that came from one man, Steve McQueen. Vaughn, a polished, well-educated actor with a deep background in stage and political science, found McQueen's behavior not only irritating, but at times baffling. From day one on set, Vaughn noticed that McQueen seemed obsessed with stealing scenes and drawing attention to himself, even when it wasn't his turn in the spotlight. Vaughn once recalled, McQueen was one of the most insecure men I'd ever met. In every scene, McQueen would find ways to move, adjusting his hat, fiddling with his gun, anything to distract the audience while another actor spoke. Vaughn, like Yul Brynner, realized quickly that McQueen wasn't just performing for the camera. He was performing a tug-of-war for control, for dominance, for stardom. This irritated Vaughn immensely. While Vaughn preferred a measured ensemble approach to filmmaking, McQueen played every moment like it was a solo act. Though the two remained professional on the surface, Vaughn later admitted he never liked McQueen personally. He viewed him as paranoid, emotionally guarded, and always looking for a reason to feel slighted. Vaughn even went as far as saying that McQueen had few, if any, real friends in Hollywood. He didn't want to share the spotlight. He wanted to own it. And for someone like Robert Vaughn, who believed in professionalism and balance, that kind of attitude was difficult to tolerate. Despite The Magnificent Seven becoming a classic, Vaughn often said that working with McQueen left a bitter aftertaste. He respected McQueen's talent, but couldn't ignore the emotional landmines he set around himself. For Vaughn, Steve McQueen was the kind of co-star you learn to avoid off camera, even if he's shown in front of it. Number 5, Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson wasn't the kind of man who talked much, but when it came to Steve McQueen, he didn't need to. Their tension during The Magnificent Seven was real, and it didn't take long for Bronson to lose patience with McQueen's constant need for attention. While Bronson brought a quiet, commanding presence to the screen, McQueen played a different game, always moving, always fidgeting, always finding ways to steal the spotlight, even when it wasn't his turn. To Bronson, it all came off as fake and insecure. He came from a hard background, poverty, coal mines, real suffering, so McQueen's ego-driven tactics didn't impress him one bit. He saw McQueen's behavior as juvenile and self-centered. On set, McQueen would fiddle with props, shift his posture, or draw attention just to make sure the camera stayed on him, even during someone else's lines. Bronson wasn't having it. He stayed professional, but off camera there was no friendship, just a simmering dislike. After The Magnificent Seven, the two kept their distance, and Bronson reportedly refused to work with McQueen again. In his eyes, McQueen wasn't just difficult, he was disrespectful. Steve McQueen's acting career took off in the late 1950s with his breakout television role in Wanted, Dead or Alive, where he played bounty hunter Josh Randall. His cool, quiet demeanor and screen presence made him a fan favorite. In 1958, he starred in the cult sci-fi film The Blob, which, despite its low budget, helped him gain early attention in Hollywood. McQueen's big break in film came with The Magnificent Seven, 1960, where he clashed on set with Yul Brynner but still managed to steal scenes with subtle gestures and charisma. He solidified his stardom in The Great Escape, 1963, delivering an iconic performance as Hiltz, the Cooler King, and famously performing parts of the motorcycle stunt himself. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, McQueen became one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. Known for his rugged masculinity and anti-hero roles, he starred in hits like The Cincinnati Kid, 1965, The Sand Pebbles, 1966, which earned him an Oscar nomination, Bullet, 1968, featuring one of the greatest car chases in film history, and The Thomas Crown Affair, 1968. His love of racing and realism showed in Le Mans, 1971, a passion project that flopped initially but gained cult status. McQueen continued his hot streak with The Getaway, 1972, Papillon, 1973, and The Towering Inferno, 1974, his final major box office success. After a brief hiatus, he returned in the early 1980s with Tom Horn and The Hunter, both released shortly before he died in 1980. From TV cowboy to Hollywood icon, Steve McQueen built a legendary career fueled by grit, style, and an unshakable cool. Steve McQueen's legacy is that of a timeless icon who redefined masculinity on screen. Nicknamed the King of Cool, he embodied a new kind of Hollywood star, quiet, rebellious, and effortlessly magnetic. He wasn't the loudest actor in the room, but his stillness spoke volumes. Whether racing through the streets of San Francisco in Bullitt or sitting silently in a prison cell in Papillon, McQueen commanded attention without saying much. Off-screen, he was a real-life daredevil racing cars and motorcycles, doing many of his own stunts, and living life with a raw, untamed energy that added to his mystique. Sadly, his life was cut short when he died on November 7th, 1980, at the age of 50 from mesothelioma, a rare and aggressive form of cancer linked to asbestos exposure. Even in his final years, McQueen sought unconventional treatments in Mexico, refusing to go down without a fight. Today, his influence lives on. From fashion to film, Steve McQueen remains a blueprint for cool. His image, his attitude, and his legacy still captivate generations long after his last ride.